What's going on, guys? It's Nick from Mindful Mastery, and I'm here with you with I think I'm gonna call this like the Mindful Body series or something like that. I don't know. I'm thinking something mindful and something body kind of goes together because it's like I'm being mindful about my body. Anyways, whatever. So I've actually kind of made some decisions regarding this channel. I will pick back up doing self-improvement videos, so if you were interested in those from before, or if that's what you like, then I will have some of those coming out for you. And I've actually decided not to do the nutrition podcast, but I still will probably have some nutritional videos on here, aside from the vlogs where I'm talking about my nutritional journey and things like that. So, as you can tell from the title of this video, I'm not sure what I'm going to call it yet, but I'm sure you'll be able to tell. I have now been on paleo for about a week. So let me just kind of talk a little bit more about what paleo is and what the motivation for it is. So a lot of people argue, or a lot of paleo advocates argue, that we haven't evolved enough to catch up to the things that we are feeding ourselves, especially the processed foods and processed sugars, but also grains and things like that we were not able to get in the Paleolithic, caveman days. So we are still trying to struggle and come up with ways to actually digest it, and it's causing our bodies a lot of issues, and that's kind of what leads to a lot of the diseases that people are getting nowadays. And that is the major argument for the paleo diet, but also just cutting out processed carbs and processed sugars, or anything that comes pretty much out of a bag or a box will just generally be helpful for anyone to do. So I would recommend that if you're just trying to do one thing that would make you healthier. But let me describe how my first week has gone on paleo. And honestly, I have been craving those carbs and sugars that I was just talking about the most. Well, I think we got some neighbors moving in, so they've got that going on. As I was saying, so I've been craving a lot of those processed carbs and sugars. And the reason that I think that is because I tried to fast the weekend before I started doing this. So I had watched a video and someone had said that they fasted for 7 days, and afterwards they were no longer craving these carbohydrates and processed sugars and things like that. So I wasn't gonna do the full 7 days because I had never fasted before, but I thought to myself that I could do 3 days and it would be no problem. But I actually quit after 40 hours, which, I mean, it's still almost 2 days, so it's still impressive. And there are numerous health benefits to fasting, but I'm not going to go into that right now. But like I said in my last video, I just felt super sluggish. I didn't want to do anything, and all I could think about was food and eating it. And then I went and got Panda Express to break the fast, which I had some soup stock or vegetable stock that I broke the fast with originally, because for anyone that tries fasting, you always want to break it with something light on your stomach, and then you can have something bigger later, but you want to progress to it. I actually kind of rushed into it a little bit too fast. I just had like a cup of the vegetable stock, and then I went right into eating meat and Panda, which I hadn't had meat in forever, so that might have not been a good idea. But so that is probably the reason why I've been craving that now, is because it's kind of transferred over into this diet. I've been craving stuff because all I was thinking about was food, and then I gave into that. So then now my mind's trying to trick me into doing it again. So let me get into some of the actual things that I've noticed have changed. I haven't actually noticed really any positive benefits of being on paleo, but I have mostly experienced negative things. So the first thing is acne, which I don't know if you can actually notice, but I have a couple acne spots on my face. It's not really that bad, but the worst part was on my chest a couple days after I started. And the main reason I think that is because my body wasn't used to consuming animal products And then I also reintroduced oils because I was cutting out those for the most part whenever I was on the vegan diet. So the combination of those two, my body probably struggled to readjust, and so it caused me to break out a little bit. My chest is actually pretty cleared up, and my face is starting to clear up as well. So I'm not really too worried about that. Another thing that kind of acted up was my inflammation in my arms. Now that one, I'm also not sure if I can contribute to the paleo because I have been doing a lot more with my arms that might cause them to hurt more and be more inflamed. The next thing is my energy levels. So my energy levels have been consistent with what they were before. I've actually been tracking it, like what time I eat each meal. I try to just eat 3 meals a day and not try and snack so that I can most accurately track this, which I might actually stop doing that here shortly. But I've generally been at baseline for the most part. In the morning, that has been my most energetic time. Or not like right after I wake up, but after I eat my first meal. I generally will eat it at like 7 or 8, and then afterwards I will get to like a 6, or I'll just stay at a 5, which 5 is, I rate it on a 1 to 10 rating scale of my energy levels, and 5 is just my baseline, not energetic, but also not tired at all, or I guess maybe a little bit tired. But so in the mornings, I'll generally actually get to a 6, and then I've gotten to a 7 like once, but that was on the first day, so I'm not for sure exactly how accurate that was. It might have been like a first day bias or something. I'm not really for sure. It doesn't really matter that much, but I think I can contribute that to one thing that I was eating in the morning, which I'll get into that here in a second. But then in the lunchtime, I generally have less energy afterwards, and I believe that is mostly due to I am eating less for lunch, and then also I'm consuming less carbohydrates as a result of that, because I'm mostly just eating like spinach and tomatoes with that meal as the carbohydrates, and then the added that I'm not consuming as many calories as I normally do kind of contributes to a slump afterwards. And I'm not for sure exactly if I will alter my carbohydrate intake for that time. I don't think I'm going to, because I've kind of developed some strategies to counteract that. So what I generally do is I go out and I run right before I go and do work. I generally do it for just 5 minutes. I'm also just trying to break in these new Vibrams, which are like the duck toes, I think, or they have like 5 finger holes, as you call it, but they just have like a really thin bottom, so it gets rough on your feet. So that's why I'm not running for very long. And then also I will walk 10 minutes afterwards to kind of help bring me down a little bit. But by the time I get to working, my heart rate is elevated, so I have more energy, or I'm more alert and whatnot. And then also my temperature is elevated, which one thing that I struggle with in getting work done is whenever the temperature fluctuates, whether it be colder or hotter, I tend to get uncomfortable and not really want to do anything. But whenever my temperature is elevated, I don't really notice as much the temperature and its fluctuations. So that generally helps me. And then sometimes I will also drink some green tea, which has a little bit of caffeine. I try to stay away from black tea and coffee just because I don't want my body to become reliant on caffeine. I actually even try and cut out green tea most of the time and just do the exercising, or I'll substitute it for an herbal tea that doesn't have any caffeine because it kind of has a similar feel to the teas because it's a warm beverage and whatnot, you know, stuff like that. So that has generally been helpful for me in remaining energetic throughout that time. And then for dinner, I don't really pay much attention to it just because it's generally around like 6 or 7, and I'm not really doing too much around that time, so it's not as important. The thing that is more important for me is what energy level I wake up at in the morning. And generally, I have been waking up at like a 3, which that's the lowest that I've gotten on any of my ratings. So I need to figure out a way to optimize my energy levels right whenever I wake up. I've also been tracking my sleep to make sure that I keep in mind that variable, because it is very important for feeling rested whenever you wake up. But like I said, I'm not super worried about waking up energetic right now, and that's also because I ice in the morning, so I don't really need to, because I'll just lay in bed and then watch something while I ice, so that doesn't really require a lot of energy. And generally the most important thing is that I remain awake until I get to breakfast, because once I get to breakfast, then I'm generally good. So now I'll get into what I've been eating. So for calories, I have actually been eating around 2100 to 2600, which is generally the range that I kind of want. My goal is actually 2500, but I think I'm gonna be lowering it to 23 or 24. And there goes that beeper again. Okay, it's off again. But the reason I'm gonna be trying to lower it, which I'm not actually even gonna be tracking it that much anymore, generally because I don't think it's that big of a deal, because I'm not really trying to lose weight or really maintain muscle necessarily. I mean, as long as I get enough protein, I should be good on maintaining muscle. I mean, I haven't worked out in a long time because of this injury, so it's not really even that big of a concern. But I'm trying to lower my calorie intake to prepare for intermittent fasting, because in that window that I'm feeding, I will most likely be able to only get a small amount comparably of calories compared to what I eat now. At least, like, it'll probably be, I'll shoot for 1900 or 2000 to begin with, just because I will be eating in a small window, so it'll be hard to get down everything. But then also, I have been consuming 50% of my calories from fat, which for those of you who don't know, a normal amount is probably between 15 to 30% in fat. So that is an elevated level. But whenever you're fasting, you mainly rely on ketones, or at some point you start relying on ketones, which comes from fat, instead of glycogen, which comes from carbohydrates. So that's kind of gearing up towards that. And then from the intermittent fasting stage or process, I will go into the ketogenic diet, which relies only on ketones. So that will kind of tumble into the next thing. So now let me just talk about what I've been eating. So for dinner and lunch, my proteins have been generally like chicken, salmon, tilapia, or ground beef. Generally because fish is super healthy for you, especially salmon. Tilapia is okay. And then the reason that I eat tilapia, chicken, and ground beef is because it's the cheapest. The salmon is the only one that is actually pricey at all. But it is also very good for you because of the fatty acids that it contains. I've also been eating sweet potatoes as my main carbohydrate, and that is mainly during dinner. Like I said, I mostly only have like spinach or kale and tomatoes as my carbohydrates for lunch. But I really like sweet potatoes, and that's like the only major carbohydrate that I have been able to actually eat on the paleo diet, because I had to cut out rice, which that's what I was craving the most, was rice. Actually, I forgot to even mention that rice is something that I ate a lot before. But so sweet potatoes are something that I've really enjoyed a lot and have continued to rely on, and I probably have had it with every single dinner meal, and I don't think I'll get tired of them, just because I normally cook them like fries and then they get crispy, and it's put cinnamon on it. I tell you what, you should try them that way. If you haven't, they're super good. They're healthy for you. That's the main point of this. And then for vegetables with dinner, I have broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, and then my favorite is okra and onions. And then for lunch, I also have generally some either olives or avocados for fat with that. And then I've also been cooking a lot with olive oil and coconut oil to get the healthy fats from those. But I would say the most important meal is my breakfast, because I eat the same thing every single day. And that is, I eat 3 eggs with sausage, which is kind of like the sausage patty, but I don't make it into a patty. I just scrambled it up with the eggs. And then I have a smoothie. Now the smoothie contains apples, cucumbers, broccoli sprouts, which that is the thing that I believe can be to blame, or I wouldn't say blame, is the most important factor in increasing my energy levels in the morning. And I got broccoli sprouts from a video on Joe Rogan's podcast, and Dr. Rhonda Patrick recommends them because they do give you a boost of energy in the morning, and I have noticed that. But I also add spinach, some sort of fruit, chia seeds, and flax seeds, which the fruit, it kind of varies depending on what I have in the freezer. It's just a frozen fruit. My favorite has been mangoes because it adds a little bit of sweetness to it. But I've also had blueberries, pineapples, and mixed berries. But I would say the most important thing in the flavor wise is the cucumbers, because it helps mask the flavor of spinach, which that has generally been a problem for me. I don't really like drinking shakes or smoothies, whatever you want to call them, that taste like spinach. But the cucumbers really help with that. So that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you took something from it. I'm just going to keep doing vlogs like this for my own amusement. But like I said, I'll be doing some more self-improvement stuff here coming up if I haven't already. I don't know whenever I'm going to be posting what video. So you have that to look forward to, and I hope you have a great day.